Welcome back once again to Lyle's Friday podcast here at C6 Corvettes. I'm going to be continuing on my series of videos about what is the sweet spot, what's the best cars in any given Corvette generation to seek out if you're in the market to buy a new one or a different one. Last week we did C5 Corvettes. This week we're going to talk about C6 Corvettes. Now, as I said at the beginning of the C5 video, as I go through and talk about which ones I would be looking for and why, if I don't mention your C6, it doesn't mean that I don't love you. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate your car. I am simply talking to the people who are new to the Corvette hobby and have no experience with these cars at all, and I'm trying to provide them with some sort of idea of where the fewest potential problems would lie in their new car that they're buying. So if I say, hey, avoid an 05, it doesn't mean that I don't like 05 Corvettes. They're wonderful cars. You may be driving in it right now listening to this and you love your car. That's awesome. This is a buyer's guide for people who don't already own them. So no offense meant here, okay? So C6 Corvettes ran from 2005 to 2013. They were an evolution on the C5 Corvette as opposed to the revolution that C5s were over C4s. Very similar drivetrain, very similar structure underneath. Skin was different, interior was different, had a lot more electronic doodads on it, but still it was an evolution of the C5. So the first years of the C6, 05, 06, and 07 featured the LS2 engine with 400 horses. The LS2 was a 6-liter. It was used in a bunch of other GM products like the Camaro, the Holden stuff out in Australia. And they ceased using it after the 2007 model year to go to the much more powerful, much more flexible platform of the LS3. If I'm looking to buy a C6 Corvette, I am probably going to try to find an 08 or newer car. Here's why. There's nothing inherently wrong with the 05, 6, or 7 or the LS2, but as a percentage of cars produced, we here at the shop have seen the LS2 engines as they age. Some of them are having a problem with losing the internal balance of the crankshaft in the engine. The symptoms of this are they continue to wear out and destroy torque tubes, they continue to wear out and destroy harmonic balancers on the front end of the engine, and they cause a vibration and a shaking that just basically shakes your drivetrain apart. Fixing that problem involves pulling the engine, replacing the crankshaft. It can easily, that entire function and job and parts can easily run to or beyond the value of the car. That isn't all LS2s. That isn't all C6 Corvettes. However, it is something you need to be aware of as you are making your decisions on how you're moving forward in your search. So be forewarned, okay? The 08 to 13 LS3, 438 horses, takes to supercharging, turbocharging, natural aspiration tuning, does all of that exceedingly well. According to one of the GM engine designers that we talked to at the SEMA show out in Las Vegas a few years ago, in his exact words, the LS3 is the best V8 we've ever built and most likely will be the best we ever build. And that's the guy who designs them. So I'm going to take his word for it, and I can tell you the number of engine problems I have seen with an LS3 in the 15 years that they've been out. None, really, other than guys who, put a 200 shot of nitrous in it and went to the drag strip and scattered their engine all over the track, which that's a whole different group of people. So 08 to 13 is good. Within that realm, you have several different models of the Corvette. You have the base coupe and the base convertible. Starting in 2010, you had the availability of the Grand Sport coupe and convertible, which had the same drivetrain as the base coupe, but featured the wide body of the Z06 or the ZR1, cooler wheels and tires, cooler color combinations, better brakes if you choose that option, It looks like a lot more car than the base C6. And the public really agreed with that sentiment, because if you look at the entire production run between 2010 and 2013 of Corvette as a whole, they sold 28,004 Grand Sports, coupes and convertibles. Now remember, this is when the economy had really shrunk down and they weren't selling a lot of Corvettes at all. So 28,004 Grand Sports. You want to know how many base Corvettes they sold, coupes and convertibles combined? 14,707. So the Grand Sport almost exactly doubled the sales of the regular C6, because it gave you a lot more for your money, not only in appearance, but in value. The Grand Sports have held their value a lot better than the regular base C6s have. Of course, you could pick a Z06. Of course, starting in 2009, you could get a ZR1. The ZR1s are incredible automobiles. I've had a handful of them in here. They are truly beasts. They perform exceedingly well. Most of the people I know who have them don't push them hard. They keep them pristine. I've only driven one once, and it was phenomenal. I mean, it was stupid with two O's, okay? But I don't know that if you're looking for a daily weekend driver that that's really where you want to go, because of the expense involved, and you're going to have so much power on tap that you're never ever going to use. Z06s are always a good choice, especially if you track the car. But Z06 production was way, way down, especially after 2010. So Z06s made after 2010 carry a real premium. In sum, and we take all this information, we kind of swirl it around and we come out with a result. If I was looking for a C6 today, I'd definitely be looking for an 08 or newer. I would also be looking probably at a Grand Sport, because I like the way they look. I liked the kind of more attractive color and body options and wheel options that were available with those cars. And I'm also attracted to the price that, while they do cost more than your standard C6, even 10 years on, the potential upside on 5 years from now is, my guess is the Grand Sports are going to hold their value a lot better. The good news is they made a lot more of them. So finding the exact color, the exact combination, coupe, convertible, whatever that you're looking for, if you're patient, shouldn't be insurmountable. I really, really like the Grand Sport for a long-term ownership possibility, something you can have a decade or two long relationship with without it really hurting your feelings or hurting your pocketbook along the way. That's my take on it. Again, all the other C6s are very fine cars, but if I'm doing the shopping with my money, that's what I'm looking for. If you have questions or comments about this video, if you have had an experience with one of the cars I've talked about today and want to rave about how great it is, or tell me about a problem that you found almost insurmountable that I haven't mentioned, by all means, go in the comments and talk to me about it, and I'll happily answer you, and I may include it in a future video. Well, guys, that's pretty much it in sum. So if I'm looking to buy a C6 Corvette, I'm looking at a 2010 to 2013 Grand Sport. That's my word. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week.